Okay, I think we're live now. We'll just take a few seconds to make sure the audio level is okay for you guys, that the stream is in good quality, and once we know that, we'll get started properly.
So this is early access of live stream.
This is early access of the early access.
So please write in the chat if all the things are working properly. And we'll just wait a little bit until we get the confirmation we're good to go. Yep. Okay.
Okay, I think we've got a thumbs up from our technical guy. So hello everyone, welcome to the Eden 3D Editor preview. My name's Jay, I'm Creative Director on Arma 3, and today with the help of this crack team of Bohemians, we'd like to introduce basically a new way of creating scenarios in Arma 3. So over the course of the next 60 or so minutes, we'd like to show you why we think this is a real game-changing addition to the Arma 3 platform. We'd like to talk a bit about the design and the background of the editor, and then maybe move on to talking about the roadmap, looking ahead to the next few weeks and months, what we've got in store for you guys. Basically, we want to show off our new baby to the world, and as luck would have it, we have the mother and father of the editor, Karol Mojicki, and Filip Sadowski here with us, and they're going to help us talk a bit about that. And also joining us, we have Cornel, brand and PR manager.
Hello.
We have Nelson, playable content designer.
Hello.
We have Greg, our new community developer.
Hello.
And we have Petke, Lord of the Bounce. Hello, Petke. So, as the rest of the team move off stage, we can talk a bit more about the topic. Because for those of you not familiar with this whole concept, basically content creation, editing, it's a real core part of what Arma's been for more than a decade. It doesn't matter if you've been a content creator yourself, or basically if you've played any scenario ever, multiplayer, single player, mod, anything, at some point it will have touched upon an editor, and that will have been our classic 2D editor. So for us and for everyone, I think introducing and the next evolution of the editor is a big step. And that's what we're going to look at today. So, Karol, I don't know about you, but I'm getting to that kind of age where every time I sign on to Facebook, I look at the wall and there's another post from an ex-schoolmate that's putting up pictures of their baby or their toddler or something. And honestly, no one really cares. But for us, for the people at home, can you tell us why Eden, the 3D editor, why is this such an important new creation? Because what does it mean to Arma 3?
Because we post a video, live stream video instead of photo. I think that's a good start.
Probably don't want to see a live stream of someone's newborn.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Let's move to actual topic. So Eden editor, it's 3D, which is quite an improvement, like another dimension. Until now,
another dimension.
You mentioned it's been for more of a decade, like since original Operation Flashpoint. Now you can find it as Arma Cold War as old.
That's true. It's true. We have 15 years.
More than that. So for all those years, across 4 or 5, or basically quite a lot of games in the series, we use this what we now call 2D editor. It was quite a powerful tool when it was released. Not many games back then had modding. There were some, there were really good ones, but it was still in the early days. So everybody or many people loved it, ability to just, after you finish the campaign and you wanted to explore more, either the world or just the units, you jumped in the editor and you experimented it. And if you liked it, you even published your mission, for example. That's my case. I came from the community and I got here by publishing missions in the old editor. So back then, whoever created it, I thank those people, most likely Ondra and Marek Spaniel. I thank them for the job. But over all those years, while the game evolved, the resolution got better, the terrains got larger, the units got more detailed, everything got better, but the 2D editor kind of stagnated. It was still 2D editor, it was still a map. And it didn't stop many skilled people. We recently had a Make Arma Not War competition, and there's been single player and multiplayer mission category, and especially in single player scenario category, the winners, all of them created their missions, yes, using scripts and external files as well, but a lot of it was also created in the editor. So yes, it was aged, but it was still powerful.
So I guess the editor is something that at least has been a part of your life as a Bohemia designer for the better part of a decade and a half.
Luckily, I'm not posting photos
Yes.
of it on Facebook.
So you can imagine the editor means a lot of things to more of different things to many different people. And so what we want to do, the way we're going to structure this live stream is to begin with, we're going to throw together a quick mission, basically to introduce you to the new components, new widgets. You should see the editor on your screen now, and Mr. Nelson, he's going to be our mission designer, and we're going to put together a mission with him. After that, I know a lot of the community have got burning questions that we'll like to answer. So later on, Greg is going to come and join us, and we'll try to answer a few of those. And we'll finish up with something like an overview of the development roadmap. Basically, what have we got to look forward to in the next few months? So without further ado, maybe we can just jump into making a mission. What do we see in front of us, Carol?
Well, this is what we call workspace, but it's the main window of Eden. This is where you probably, if you will be using it, spend most of the time. You can recognize, like if you're a Windows user, classic elements, menu bar, toolbar. No surprise there. Why to reinvent the wheel when we can use something which people are already used to? What's more important is the panels on the left and right. If you operated with Zeus, our real-time kind of editor, but more like a strategic interface before, you will see quite similarities. That's because Eden is in many aspects based on Zeus. Back then we already developed it in with sort of knowing it might be transformed to 3D editor at some point. So on the right we see asset browser. In game, we've got a vast amount of assets, starting with vehicles, characters, weapons, objects. So you can find it there, and if you install some community mods, it will seamlessly connect to the game and it will recognize it, and that's something 2D editor already was capable of.
Yeah.
You will see the community content.
So straight away we can see, although there may be a few familiar things for those of you that have used the 2D editor, immediately there are certain parts of the design that are more recognizable for professional tools like Photoshop or something like that. We see the toolbar, we've got the right-click context menu, so little things like that, which we hope, I suppose, will make it more usable. Like you say, this is sort of based a little bit off the Zeus development, which you and Philip were a massive part of, and it's sort of the next evolution of that. I think what's really interesting is to start with the asset browser, something that you touched upon there, because this is really where all of the assets of Arma.
How do I find the asset I need? There are like thousands of them.
Exactly. So maybe you can tell us a bit more about. So what's new here? How is this the new bright future?
It's called. I think it's in some hidden circles. It's called search functionality.
A what?
Search functionality. You might have never heard of it. Yeah, I think you type in the name of something. For example, I type in Miller, and it will search for Miller. Oh my God! That's for those who don't know, it's one of the important characters in campaign, and we have kind of emotional connection to him. So I think this is super simple. You want something, you search for it. It works for the asset browser. It works on the left with entity list. It shows everything you have already placed in the scenario. So on the right, you have what's available for you for placing. On left is what is already there, sorted in some basic categories. You can again search for it. And so when you place somebody somewhere in where did I place the soldier? Where is he? Again, you can quickly find him there. You can even access context menu from there and edit somebody's attributes, or just double click and get the position.
So something I want to touch upon before we jump into more of the entities. I think a really important point that you touched upon was this idea of mod support. So right here we can see all of the assets, the weapons, the vehicles that are in Arma 3, but just as they're available if you have mods in the existing editor, right now you'll be able to throw in your favorite mod and you can search them as well, and everything is sort of backwards compatible.
The best example, if I had, for example, RHS, the Red Hammer Studios mod installed, it won the Make Arma competition for total modification, so we got really large library of Russian forces or American army forces, so it was seamlessly connect. You would probably see it under a different faction like Russian Federation forces, and you could start placing it straight away. So yeah, this game is partly a platform platform. That's why modding shouldn't be really a problem with compatibility.
Great. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah.
I think where we were at was looking at the second, probably most important component, which is the entities list.
Yeah.
Now, I realise some things are going on in the background here, but maybe just before we jump into entities themselves, what is Nelson doing? What are we putting together here?
Well, right now he's just toying around, so let's get it and start completely new scenario.
I think that'll be fresh starts always better.
So we go new, we pick a terrain. It's okay. Altis, middle of Mediterranean, and let's build a steel car. I think any Flashpoint veteran will remember, we have some nostalgic memories to it, how we stole the car after like 10th attempt after being killed so many times. Let's try to recreate those beautiful memories.
Okay, so we have one of the most classic, most simple scenarios that you can do, steal the car. Yeah. So if Nelson was going to begin this, how would he do it?
Well, first let's find some nice place. One of the new additions is locations list, so every major location on this terrain, it's listed here. So let's pick some nice village. I like Chalkia, something like that. I can't possibly even pronounce it. It's a very nice looking village. So yeah, that looks cool. So
he's just double clicked on the locations list. It's taken the camera directly here. I guess every map location is like configured and accessible.
It's created by the terrain designer, but you'll be also able to bookmark your own location. So if you're just randomly strolling around. By the way, or my favorite location, if you go to view editor and menu strip, there's possibility to go to random location, for example. So it's got a shortcut Control R, and many times I find myself procrastinating by pressing Control R and seeing where it leads me, which is beautiful, by the way, on New Terrain Tanoa. I explored so many places there, but that will come sometimes in the future.
But in the interest of time, let's go back to Chalkia, and where are we going to start with making our steal the car mission?
I think it would be good to start with player.
I think it would.
So let's start player. Let's go with Miller. Let's place there.
Let's throw a Miller down.
So will we start on the graveyard? Yeah, that's fine. Let's put there Miller.
Seems suitably Miller-esque.
Let's put there on the Miller. We're a multiplayer game. Let's have multiple Millers. Let's have attackable clones. Yeah, one more. So when Nelson's holding control, he keep placing, so he can place multiple of the units. So we have 3 Millers. If it's multiplayer, so let's them everybody as playable. Somebody actually right before stream asked if it would be possible to set multiple units as playable, because in 2D editor you had to go click on the unit, set as playable, confirm, click on the unit, and repeat and repeat and repeat. Imagine you have 40 player scenario. Now you can actually select all of them, and when you right click on them and open attributes, you'll be able to see attributes. We'll be able to set attributes for all of them. You see the grayed out position. That means that attributes is not shared for all of them. So you would have to manually enable it to set it. But for now, let's set playable, click OK, and we have a nice 3-player co-op.
So this is quite, I suppose, another fundamental menu that players are going to be using time and time again.
Attributes, yes.
So to get there, we've gone to the entities list, and we can see all of the current the assets that become entities when you put them in the world.
Just to be sure, you can still double click on a single entity and it will bring up the attributes window, sign us into the editor.
So could we say, are there any differences? Like, this is pretty basic stuff. Like, people that have played with the editor know what attributes are. But are there any changes, or basically, what would you say that this evolution to 3D editor has changed in this regard?
Let's open attributes window of Miller. Not that Miller, the other Miller price. Yes, this one. So we see most of the attributes you will recognize from 2D editor position. Oh, that's actually not the one. Scale, ammunition, rank. Most of those are there. The visualization is a bit different. Categorization is a bit different. But this is probably what you know. However, for example, we have already new attributes, so special state, so I can hide the module or disable the damage. For example, for now, for this player, disable the damage. So when we are testing it, we can not be afraid that I will die before reaching this checkpoint. So I can test the mission flow without the risk. Word of advice: don't forget to enable it once you're publishing the mission. Players might enjoy the mission more. Okay, again, we have the identity. This is not finished yet. I would want a face preview there. So we have these new attributes. And we will touch the topic later, but the editor itself will be moddable, so anybody or any modder will be able to add new attributes, for example, specific to entity or objects. We will touch the topic a bit later.
Yeah, we can dig down into the details a bit later, I suppose. So on with the show, we have our players now.
One point, probably a clone army is not a good thing. So
you think not?
Yeah, so let's select those two other millers and change their type.
No Thriller Miller?
Okay, so make them a normal rifleman, so we can, as before, the same tree structures we see in Asset Browser, we can search there and change them to a normal rifleman and group them together. One thing, in 2D editor, right now there are 3 independent groups. In 2D editor you had to go to some specific group mode and you were not able to drag objects around. Now it doesn't matter in which mode you are, you can just select them and when holding Ctrl, drag them to Miller and it will initiate grouping. So you can quickly put units together in the logical group. So Miller, the player now will be a leader, he'll be able to issue orders.
So it's the same basic functionality that we come to expect from the 2D editor, but with some little tweaks to its usability.
Yeah, it's evolution, it's not revolution, because we don't, as I said, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Okay, so we've got players, they start on graveyard, that's fine. Now to something important for steal the car scenario, which might be a car.
Could be helpful.
Yes. So let's find some location, probably not too far away, in the middle of the town somewhere. Nonsense designer, I trust his skills. He's the one actually who created the Moral Fiber mission in the campaign, which I absolutely enjoyed, by the way. If you didn't play it, it's epic. So I think we need Op 4 car, because we are playing as Blue 4, so some enemies, so we have Ifrit. The car should be empty. Normally in 2D editor you would go to empty objects, basically, which are now called props. But that before kind of make everything confusing. You had like houses and sandbags, and next to it you had vehicles which were not really sorted by side, so you didn't know if you're placing Op 4 vehicle or guerrilla vehicle. So that's why vehicles are no longer under props, which were actually now can be called props and not something like empty objects before. But where to find vehicles now? So they are actually where they were always, under the specific site. So I can go Op 4, and when I search for a car there, but this would place it with a crew. When you place it now, it will be combat ready vehicle, and you can see crew inside. So that's what not we want, but we could technically manually remove the crew out of it, but that we'll get to that later. So let's delete the vehicle and actually place it empty. Right now, you don't need to search for vehicle either on Op 4 or empty vehicles. You just hold Alt while placing, and it will place it empty.
Yeah, so we can see the color of the icon there, the preview. Yeah. It's red if it has.
As I'm explaining, it probably sounds a bit clumsy, but it's once you get used to it, it's super fast. That you have one place.
I suppose the overall the underlying point that you're making is, although now the main feature of a 3D editor is to edit in 3D, there's also a few sort of usability tweaks, as it were. There's a few things that are maybe going to be slightly different for people that have, to be honest, been using the same editor for 10 years. But that sort of brings us on to maybe quite an important question, particularly for some of the veterans out there, for people that don't like change. If I was a veteran designer of 15 years with this thing, when I approach a 3D editor, what do you think it's going to be like as a transition? Is it very similar? Is it going to be a difficult thing to switch towards?
Well, we can switch the map, and it will be a very similar experience. So if you go to toolbar, there's a new icon, or you can use just M shortcut. And as you can see, it looks, when we now zoom in, it looks very similar. It's we designed it that the map view, which is still available, is as close to previous map view, which worked perfect. It's also how map view in a game looks like. So when you're playing some scenario and you press M, this map will look exactly the same. One quite important addition is when we zoom in, we will see bounding boxes of actual objects. So probably not best visible on soldiers, for example. So vehicle. This is actually the boundary of the vehicle. So when we place something right next to it, we will make sure that it's not going inside the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
That was again in previous editor quite tedious process to position everything precisely, and that's why the map view is still there. Both the scene and the map has advantages. So for example, as I mentioned, precise positioning, like let's say I want to build, I want to place something on a table, laptop and a pen on a table. 2D view for this would be terrible. Please appreciate it every time you see either our official or community mission and you have some nice composition with something on a table. Imagine the pain of the designers where they have to design with this map view. So now that's for 3D is much better.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if I would now place a fire team and want to create give waypoints for it, basically create a patrol.
Yeah. So let's jump back into the sense of the mission. So what we've placed so far is we have our player over there, and we have the car that we're going to steal.
It's unguarded.
Now I suppose we need to put some guards.
Yeah, so let's switch to groups, which is not called compositions. We will get to why later. But now, so basically place a fire team. For example, if I would want to let this fire team patrol an area, basically some loop, so they are going in streets. In 3D again, I would need to constantly jump to these places. Meanwhile, when I switch to the map, I have overview of whole village, and I can place the waypoints quite quickly. In 2D editor, you have to again switch to some specific editing mode called waypoints, and which is still there. So if we go to F4 waypoints, but F4 I'm saying as shortcut, like I know it already so well, so forgive me. So we see all waypoints types now before you place them. But you can also, when you have the group selected, you can just shift click and it will place the waypoint quite quickly. Probably do it in a map so we can see how quick it is just to place them in sequence. In Zeus, the waypoints were placed by right mouse button, so which is now used for context menu. So with right mouse you can quickly set up the waypoints of the group without switching to some specific.
So here we've placed the group and we've given them some waypoints to move around. And I suppose your point is, although the classic way of doing it is still supported, there are again a few sort of tweaks to make mission making a bit more quick and easy, I guess. Here
the default behavior all behavior didn't change, it was just expanded. One new addition, for example, is that you can set now group attributes. And when I double click on the group, it's now its own entity, and I can, for example, set behavior or combat mode of the group. So this is normal patrol, so we will set them to be in safe mode, so they are not running in combat pace or something. They are relaxed, they don't expect anything, it's just a car. Some officer told them it will be easy business, whatever. And
right, so where are we in the mission, and what's Mr. Nelson currently doing?
Well,
in the interest of time, we might.
Another important addition which I want to highlight is actually crew operation. So if he plays somewhere else under the car as a patrol, or for example helicopter in the background. So let's put some, just for effect, flying helicopter.
Why not?
For example, I like Taro. It looks it was one added in DLC. You can see it's marked by DLC icon in the asset browser. So place it somewhere further away, probably even further away, and obviously to altitude. So now Nelson increased the altitude of the object. Again, something with 2D view would be a bit difficult.
Somewhat.
Yes, and so now we have helicopter, but when you zoom a bit closer to it, you will see now actually crew icon. So you see the helicopter icon below the helicopter, and these are actual crew inside, and I can manipulate them independently, and if I zoom out further away, this will disappear because they would be too close together. But if I hover over the vehicle icon, I can now see actually preview of the
I see the icons there.
Yes, and I can manipulate them. So, for example, if I drag the pilot outside, then the vehicle will no longer have a pilot. And so let's drag him outside, and he's here. He would probably fall down and die. So let's put him back. That might be good. And it works both ways. So I can drag him inside. So if I want to quickly, for example, if I would use transport version of the helicopter and want to move a whole fire team inside, I could do it very easily.
So again, this is something that you could have achieved in the previous editor, but by some to move in script command or something like
Especially
that.
I can set each of those vehicle members playable. So again, I can say, oh, I want gunner and driver playable, but not commander. Again, not possible.
But the point is that here it's much more visual. You can do it a lot quicker by just dragging, dropping, and what you want to achieve isn't hidden behind a whole bunch of extra knowledge, extra script, for example.
And it's not only for vehicles. For example, if you hover over the group icon of players, you can see from this distance we can no longer see players, but the same trick works here. So we are aggregating the stuff you don't need, so the scene won't get cluttered with too many icons. It works in map as well.
Yeah. So back to it.
So we have some mission with basic patrols. We have a helicopter. Let's give it waypoints on further away. It's just for effect anyway. Probably the map, or actually we don't need the map. It just flies away, and we can return back. One thing which which many people could be asking, like we have triggers. It's a game. It's something which controls mission flow. And it's got some area. For example, if I want to measure all enemies in some areas are killed, end a mission, for example. So in this case, if I would kill everybody in the village before stealing the car, it could be success as well, because there would be no opposing forces. So when I place a trigger, you can see they are now preset, so I can place a trigger without area, or for example 500 meters diameter. That could be fine for now. And when we zoom out a bit, we can see it's now nicely visualized. And of course it will be visible in the map as well, and we can one nice addition, you can see the area is we can now edit it by dragging the area, but that's possible only when it's selected. When we deselect it, then the area is not blocking our view, so we can edit something, for example the blue for forces and all forces inside. And now we will set the trigger to be up for not present and end a mission. So when you kill everybody, you won.
So what Nelson's doing here is he's throwing down his area trigger, and the condition is when all of the red guys are no longer in it, there's a victory.
Again, basic stuff. This was possible in 2D editor as well. I just wanted to highlight that it's visualized in 3D, and which will be especially useful when I have a trigger which is, for example, spawns only building. For example, the 10x10 trigger is perfect for just putting on a building. Again, if I want trigger player enter the room, then it could be a bit difficult with 2D map.
Yes.
Next important thing is actually precise. I want to get back to precise positioning. So why are groups now called compositions? Because as in Zeus, you can place prop composition. So for example, some bases. So let's put there some nice base which will be overlooking the area. And of course you wouldn't call base or group, so it's being running composition. I think Camp Bravery looks quite formidable.
Why is there not a Camp Splendid?
Because as you can see, they are alphabetical, so A, B, C, D, E, F, and we just didn't create enough compositions yet.
Work harder.
Okay, so now we have precise object positioning. If you switch to map, there's one cool addition is that they, as I mentioned, the bounding boxes. So from now, I will know where the objects are. But when I zoom in further, I can position everything precisely already in the map. So even if you don't like anything in 3D, or for some reason, or you might find it basically for quick moving, it's quite useful. But of course, here it might be much faster. So for example, something which would be really tricky in previous editor. Let's go on top of the tower and put there a table, and on a table put a weapon. So some observation post, a bird watching post, obviously. So let's search for a table. I kick in the table, I'm sorry.
Stop kicking the table, we're putting the table in the game.
No. Actually, I don't like. Maybe you didn't rotate it exactly. Could you please undo it and rotate it with grid? Because
what?
Undo button. Yes. Did I mention we have undo button? Yeah. Yes. If you don't like something, you can go undo and then redo, something which 2D editor didn't have. It's actually a basic feature in most of the applications, and we didn't have it. We are actually for it. Sorry.
Yeah, it only took us 15 years, but now you can undo.
So now we set the grid, so we can actually edit it to be more precisely aligned with the tower, which is actually oriented precisely to north. So let's align it precisely. Yeah, you can set on the toolbar actual grid value. The same goes for moving, so you can set a grid by, for example, 1 meter or whatever. Or when I right click on the table, if I would want to, for example, put multiple objects in a row, I can open context menu, go to grid menu, and I can set, for example, that the grid will be one of the axes of the table.
So in short, we're able to now have a lot more control over the way we interact with these objects. We can make something be very precisely rotated or adjusted, or we can adjust in broader strokes. I think definitely.
I wanted weapon, not by.
I think definitely someone that would be on the top of this tower would be Miller himself.
Yeah.
So it could be interesting for us to see this also when the mission runs itself.
Yeah. Forgive the big 3D model of the cursor. It's still work in progress. And now I have a weapon on the table. Maybe I want to position it just in just the height. So I talked about axis. So I can actually toggle transformation widget, which will show me a specific axis, and it's right here on toolbar, and I can actually edit it just in Z-axis, for example. So I'm sure I like how it's placed in X and Y, the horizontal axis. And as you can see, I get close to the table, it snaps. Its default behavior, for example, if you're snapping the soldiers on the floor, it's very useful that you don't need to go by millimeter, it snaps. But in this case, it's kind of undesired behavior. We would want to put it a bit higher. So again, we can toggle it off and just very precisely position this weapon.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
So again, there's different levels of accuracy to which we can maneuver things in 3D space. You want to throw down a whole bunch of things. You might want to use the surface snapping so it's good enough, or you might want to get in there and tweak it specifically itself.
So now we have a bird watching post.
And I think Captain Miller should definitely be moved to the top of this tower.
But this is up for tower.
There is no better place for him to be. And we also can maybe then run the mission and see how these things look in real time. So if Mr. Nelson is listening,
and we'll
Mr. Nelson can use his quick shortcut to get over to Captain Miller.
And we will drag him. We will create a new Miller, or we will drag him in.
We should take the one that already exists. I think that would be
so
cool.
when we double click on him, it will lead us to his position, and then, or you can actually use map. Yeah, there's a Miller. So you see, he was far away, but we dragged just the icon on him, and now we position him to tower and increase the altitude.
Mm-hmm.
If do we have still? Oh yeah, surface snapping is enabled, so he snapped straight to the surface.
So just like the other, the original editor, we can quickly jump into the mission and see what's going on the fly.
So we can now, if we place the scenario, we will be straight there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have still invincibility enabled, so if we would jump off the tower, it's arrived. Oh look, we have nice. We can take the weapon, we can start sharpshooting at the enemies. So that quite a nice setup. Although, oh yeah, we don't have optics on the weapon, so sharpshooting would be a bit tricky. Oh, helicopters flying there. We have some our buddies on the graveyard.
But aside from us talking and taking a long time explaining things, what I think we can see is it's very quick to do something which would take a laborious amount of time in our old.
And especially cool
system.
is when we want to debug the mission. So for example, let's say I want to see how the mission looks like from the enemy point of view. Normally I would have to either go there with, I would have to move the player there and then move him back. But if we now return back to Eden, and we can anytime right click on any place in the world, and for example, play from here, which will teleport the player on the position without actually modifying his default position.
Mm-hmm.
So when I save the mission, it will be still there. And what's more, if I go back, I can even select that I can play as a different unit. So if we, for example, pick one of the enemies and open a menu on him, I can basically play as the object. And I will start the mission as this guy, and I can look around, walk around. Before, if I've teleported here as a Miller, everybody would kill me or try to kill me, which would be a bit uncomfortable.
Yes.
So again, these are more for debugging or quickly just testing the mission. These little things should make mission design a bit easier.
Yeah. Remove some of the barriers that are put in the way, definitely. So we have, let's say, 5 more minutes of mission making. There are I have to say there's a lot more that we can cover,
Yeah.
a lot of details that we can go into. There's a few topics at least that I could think about talking about. I think tutorials is an interesting part.
True.
I don't know if there's anything else that you'd really be keen to look at.
I would want to just mention the modding, but tutorials, like especially somebody switching from 2D editor or somebody new, you might be a bit overwhelmed by, oh, it's new. That's why we have in-game tutorial window. You can see actually some notifications. Oh, you have some unread tutorials or unread updates.
Yes, I want to click on that.
Yes. So if I, for example, initiate switching from 2D editor tutorial, it will lead me step by step through the most major changes. So, for example, discarded features or changed ones, and something which we already covered here.
So we can see like these new little widgets are highlighted. We saw the search bar before Nelson moved on.
Yeah.
Now we're highlighting the asset browser. With these little tutorials, you expect players will be able to familiarize themselves.
Yeah,
we care about the people that have been using this tool for 10 years. So we want to give them the most fluent transition to this brand new order of things, and these I think help do.
And
that.
not only, generally we want to communicate with the user more. That's why, for example, updates window is there. So there's other icon. It's just a style of work in progress. But here we will be posting updates when you, for example, add something new or something changes. But more important, whole Eden is now moddable. So you can use this tool as an expanded and give the designers more options. To explain it better, previous to the editor, if I would, for example, add a new functionality, I know some automated script. Let's say I place a composition perfectly aligned sandbags, and I would want some tool which will take all of them, for example, and rotate them a bit so it looks more human, not as mechanical. Before it was impossible. Modders had no access actually to how could they come or speak through scripts with editor, but now everything is accessible as scripts. And you can plug it. You can create new plugins, automate functions, even the attributes. We see the attributes window. Anybody or any modder can add new attribute.
I think that's probably the clearest example that we could choose to talk about this extensibility of the tool. If we open up an attributes window of any given unit, we have the things that are here by default. So we saw before you can now disable simulation, or we can disable damage. So you're saying here, with these options, if you install an editor mod, you could add whatever kind of checkboxes.
Let's say I'm running some advanced medical system. I think ACE has one of those, and I would want the unit to basically configure it for a unit. Before, I would have to probably run some scripts, operate with some variables, something which beginners can find a bit overwhelming. Here, actually the mod creators can put attributes straight to the object window, either to all objects or, for example, just some specific. Medic could have some attributes which nobody else has. It can be per unit, and then any designer can configure it here. Advantages: those attributes are completely self-sufficient. So when you save a mission and release it, it can be created that the attribute no longer needs the mod which added it. It will be saved in the mission itself. So it will help designers without making players download some additional mods.
Now, of course, that's probably fantastic news for the more advanced
That's
users.
why even tutorials, modders can add their own tutorials or updates window.
Exactly. Yeah. So these are things which advanced modders will be able to really dig into and get their teeth into. Perhaps it's something which your Saturday afternoon mission editor doesn't necessarily care too much about. He has these new ways of making a mission very quickly. But I think what you're saying really speaks to the initial vision of the design you put in place. It's not only is Arma a massively modifiable game where you can throw together this platform for different ways of experiencing whatever the hell Arma is to you, but this tool itself can be modified to suit the way that you're building these things.
You can mod the modding.
Because people let's say you play 100 hours of the game, someone might have spent 1,000 hours just clicking things in this editor. So this is why we're calling it game changing, because for these people, it is a completely new game for them. And I think it's something that, I'm very proud of the team for how it's come together, even though, disclaimers, this is all work in progress and open to change.
Right now it's in beta version.
Well, that we haven't done so well. Sorry, Mr. Nelson. We haven't done so well in terms of completing our steal the car mission, and we
have a car.
We have a car. We could steal it. We're sort of coming to the end of our time for that section, and I know I've asked a lot of the questions I wanted to cover, but at the same time, I know the community have a lot of questions that they wanted to ask. So to help us with that, we'll welcome back Greg. So,
hello, Greg.
Welcome back. Maybe first of all, you can. Who are you?
I'm Greg. People know me as Bohemia Back on the forums. So.
Oh, that's you.
That's
right.
Face to the name.
And I actually have, speaking of the forums, I have some questions from the community that I've gathered.
Bring them on.
So, would it be possible to filter editor entries based on mod or DLC?
Well, right now we've already seen, if you return back to editor, they've got a small mod icon. So, for example, right now we have only official content running, but the mods and DLCs are on the same level. So we see Heavy Gunner there, for example, which was introduced in Marksman DLC, has got its own icon. So I already mentioned previously, for example, RHS, all the content there would have icon, which obviously not the best way to search. So we're right now exploring the possibility of, for example, tagging the content, but it's just in early phases. We started just categorization, but definitely it's something we want to look into.
So in short, what we're seeing is our official icons on the side beside the icons beside the assets.
Yeah.
But if the community has correctly set up their mod,
configured, yes.
If they have done this correctly, then their icon will appear as well.
Which configured is quite easy and community.
I think it's talking about tags and so on. This is maybe something we can get to later. Hopefully, it should be very powerful. Basically, something to help searching, but. Yeah, it's something for the future.
All right, another question from Chartles on the forums. Filtering in the editor by unit, vehicle, object menu lists?
Well, we've already seen the power of search field or search button. Search field, yes. What we are also planning is to take a look at how objects are categorized. So now we see, for example, all tanks and APCs are in armored, but when I type in the search field tank, right now it wouldn't show anything because it's called armored, and how Jay would really dislike it's called even armored without you in it.
What?
So, you were really not creatively leading this very well. Very. Anyway, we're planning to.
I was overruled by a Dutchman.
So point is, we're planning to rethink this categorization, so it will help you with searching, but even without search, it will be more easier to find something. So I think that's kind of answer this question.
All right, another question by Charles. Any chance of seeing the ability? Did I just ask that? Let me ask this other question. So crucially for Tanua, is there ability to put destructible trees in?
Right now, I don't think that's. I don't think we really discussed that, because if he means modifying trees straight in the terrain, we are interested in it. But right now, it's all over on the priority list, because generally you can manipulate on the stuff you already play, but the stuff which been there before is not as easily accessible. And as for placing trees themselves, I think there are some technical reasons. We will investigate. That's actually a good point. Yeah.
But I think the good news, at least for depending on your perspective, is the list of assets that you can choose to put into the mission. We're currently reviewing what basically appears when you're searching.
A lot of stuff was even hidden.
Yeah.
Like we had some unclear how to hide stuff. Basically, I expect we will reveal all the things.
So you can now go to the editor, find a watchtower, put it in straight away without having to hack
into
around
the editor. It was not possible here.
Yeah.
It will be.
Yeah.
But that's a coming change.
Popular question: is there the ability to rotate objects and different axes?
Well, we've already seen rotating with shift, but that's probably not what people ask. We've seen the transformation widget, so when we select an object and show the widget. This is for translation widget. You move the object. What we are also planning, which is not finished yet, but we already have some quite nice work in progress version, is rotation widget. So instead of arrows, you would see some circles, and you would be able to rotate object around any axis. So if I have some IED scene, for example, when I have a half-destroyed vehicle running on its side, easy.
Well, right now we could, for example, go to this empty hunter, and
Yeah.
in the attributes
Yeah,
manually
manually.
set, it's a y-axis, for example.
Yeah.
So maybe we can take a look at
Yeah.
that.
One thing though, physics would want to push it back to wheels, so we would need to disable simulation as well. So here we put, for example, 90. I think it's y-axis. X-axis.
I couldn't maybe.
We'll see what happens.
I suppose we'll find out.
Well, yeah, that looks fine. So then we would just move
Yeah.
it to ground.
So the point is, in the future, this will be more natively supported.
Yes.
Right now, it's possible, but it's a bit of a.
Right now it's work in
progress.
progress, so we cannot really showcase it as well. But
it's a good question.
yes.
All right, from Twitter, Mr. Yokikam 007, will you be able to save Zeus creations to the mission file?
Well, while we're planning some connection with Zeus, for example, with custom object compositions, that if you would prepare a composition in Eden and then it would be available for you in Zeus. And of course, we're planning to enhance Zeus with, for example, search field. However, saving stuff from Zeus is not really what is desired. We may re-evaluate it, but mainly we want Zeus to be more immediate tool and Eden to be something where you create stuff long term and save it. Worth mentioning as well, I think you might have a question also on the list, so I will answer it preemptively. You can import existing missions from Twitter. So when I, for example, go to load mission window, I will see not only missions I created in Eden, but I will see all the scenarios previously. For example, these are showcases. They are grayed out because they were created in 2D editor, and I can import them, and it should seamlessly convert those missions to Eden format. So if you for example do it, don't forget to save your mission before it. It's nice creation.
Yeah, I think definitely one of the most important questions is backwards compatibility, because we already have, like, on the workshop now we have 10,000 scenarios, and that work isn't lost. It's just waiting to conform to the new standard.
So now we are in Showcase Armed Assault, if you remember it, and if you played it, you might recognize some of the compositions, and there are some discontinued features. For example, I know Waypoints for logic entities. It's all described in the tutorial, so we will be then.
But it's funny, I actually know Nelson himself made this scenario, and I can
all those
imagine
objects are placed in the map.
all of them placed
Every
into
single one.
and I can just see the pain in his eyes
The
of how long
tears and blood
how
and
long it
sweat.
took him to do this. Now Nelson, you can. So basically, now Nelson is able to work a lot faster. That's what we have improved the efficiency
Empowering
of our
designers.
designers.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
So instead of one mission per whatever month, they can produce 3 or 10. I'll tell it to lead playable content designer.
That's a really good promise to make.
Next question.
Next, moving quickly on.
I think you've expanded on this quite a bit when you were talking about, but 3D triggers.
Oh yeah, we've already seen the trigger visualized in the world. What we want to look at is also ability to set ceiling and floor to the trigger. So I have actually cube, which I put on the, for example, room in the building, and then if I walk on the floor above this room, it wouldn't activate the trigger. It's not yet there. We have it on the roadmap.
Question from Reddit. Is the Eden editor based on XCOM or any other mod? Would you like to tribute anyone yourself based on the basis of Zeus?
Yeah,
Well,
XCOM.
it's mainly based on Zeus, although we looked a bit into XCAM. It's a very powerful tool, but it's got a bit different target audience. It's more for really advanced object placement, because it's for mainly terrain.
Building terrain
Designers, but you couldn't design a mission. You can put triggers or waypoints. You can design a mission flow. So they are both for different things, and I think they both excel in what they do. But who knows? Maybe we will see some custom plugins which will add some of the XCAM functionality into it.
They're definitely going to hack everything, but you designed it to be hackable. So
Yes.
you'd be disappointed if they didn't.
Is it a hacking when it's the internet to be hacking?
Hackception.
You pretty much answered the other questions I had, except for
So
one
efficient
question
today, Carol. So efficient.
that everyone's been asking. That's the
So
last question.
one. Yeah.
More this question, I don't know if I can. It's when is it going to be released? Basically, as everyone.
I think
keeps asking that.
the Eden programmer has answered for that. Philip.
Yes, welcome back into the scene, Mr. Philip Zadowski.
Yeah.
And before we get into your burning question,
This is Philip, the programmer.
can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little about your experience.
So actually, as was said, I'm a programmer. I worked with Carl on Zeus previously.
Two-man army.
Yeah. Then we had quite a break, and I was doing some fixes and things around the engine itself. And then we moved to a 3D editor you saw today.
And what kind of problems, like, you know, from the technical perspective, there must have been a reason why it's taken 15 years to make what seems now so simple.
That wasn't technical reason.
Clearly it's not as easy as all that. So can you tell us, like, what kind of challenges have you faced in the development?
Actually, the biggest challenge I would say is that every editor you see in other engines, in other games, even 3D editors for models, they have their own technology for moving stuff, for editing everything basically, and you have no way how to find out how they did it. So we had to make everything all over again and basically reinvent the wheel by
Did I
ourselves.
say we wanted to avoid it? Shh.
Yeah, I think another really important aspect of this editor is it's in-game. Like, it's not an external tool. And I remember when we were first talking about the options for 3D editing, like,
We had it on the table, actually.
Should we make it an external tool? Like, I did not believe at all we could have what you've implemented, the toolbar and the right-click context menu, all of these little libraries that are easily available if it was an external application. But the effort that you put in to make it in-game also offers us, you know, a whole bunch of advantages, right?
No barriers for players. Like,
Exactly.
if Flashpoint back then had external editor, I wouldn't be here because I wouldn't be bothered in searching folder and seeing some.
Imagine
external
having to wait every time you want to preview the mission for loading all the game.
Plus,
Don't want to do this.
Plus, it's in your editor, but many people, I know many people who don't create missions, but they are just going there and like, I insert a group here, I give myself some special weapon or play as a heavy gunner, I insert enemy there, and I just go shoot stuff. Basically, they see it as a toy. They are just having fun there without publishing mission ever.
And that's a good way to use it.
So, and if it was external tool, it would be already too large barrier. Meanwhile, when it's internal, you see it in the main menu, you can access it from main menu. Even out of curiosity, you can go there and then spend next 10,000 hours there.
Okay, maybe last question for you. What is your personal favorite part of the 3D editor?
It's a good question actually. I think the simplicity of placing stuff, I would say. Because you can,
I mean, fundamentally, it is just taking an asset,
yes,
putting it down, isn't
and
it?
you can
nice?
place it wherever you want, like by one click.
And
so simple.
You know what's my favorite part? Nelson, could you please insert a flag? For example, I think Jay will appreciate if you insert British flag.
Make me feel homesick.
And I really like some fun stuff I have discovered lately. If you move a flag, it actually the flag moves as I move the object.
That's very good.
And when I discovered, I was childishly happy.
Okay, well, definitely, we've already touched upon it, but just to confirm, my favorite part is the undo button because I always make mistakes.
We have to mess
Always
everything
make
up,
mistakes.
yes.
Oh my god. Okay. But what was your question for us, Philip? We've asked you a whole bunch. What was your question?
Actually, it's not that much my question, but people from around the world are mostly asking when will editor will be released.
So
like
when
actually released?
When will they get their hands
Yeah.
on,
Okay,
on
so-
this mother?
Yeah.
So we're planning expansion for next year, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Many people assumed Aiden will be released together with expansion. It will be quite a long wait, so we will be releasing in the beginning of 2016, quite some time, or sometime before expansion.
Basically, sometime in the new year is when this will go live.
But important thing is that's actually full release. But as what we did this with Zeus, some people may remember, we released it to experimental dev build on Steam, which basically you can opt into and test new features.
So this is the build where if you go to launch Arma 3, you can opt into the beta program, basically.
Yeah.
You can switch what data you're launching with and
Sometimes
pick,
it's horribly broken.
and then pick the dev branch.
Yeah.
And definitely, we can't fail but to disclaim it's work in progress. It might be horribly broken.
So, but the point is, we are planning to release Eden before actual full release, perhaps even this year, to to basically as a public beta to development branch,
So
and then let people contribute. Like you already see at the top right feedback button. Then once it's released, people will be able to directly to give us feedback on feedback tracker and generally help us develop it and perhaps find some issues. Hopefully not many.
So when do you think we'll be looking to release this early access dev version of it?
Actually, maybe I'll stop you here. I prepared one special device.
You have Eden device
inside the editor, so you can maybe check it out.
What does that do?
So it will tell us when it's released?
Yeah, definitely. So simple to add custom attributes, so why not?
Okay, so
Can you open them, please?
So this looks normal. What's there? Oh, wait, there's a button. There's a red button.
What do you do when you see a red button?
Should I
mean, there's
click
only
it?
one thing you can do with a red button.
What does it do? It's doing something?
Ah,
Wait, what?
just click the button.
Hit the button that says beta released? Did we just release button?
I think we just released
We may have just released
the dev branch of the 3D editor.
Eden editor is now available for everybody in dev branch. You can manually opt in for it in Steam. And if you're really curious in trying Eden and breaking Eden and giving us feedback, here's your chance.
So just to be clear, if you're signed up to the dev branch of Arma 3, right now you'll be downloading an update, and that update may horribly break your game. Or
make it splendid!
It may make it splendid with the Eden 3D editor. So jump in now. Don't worry, the 2D editor is still there. It's supported side by side. But you can jump in, you can try it, you can give us some feedback, and the handy dandy button that's in game right now.
Don't forget about it.
I recommend, first thing I recommend to do is to go to that update section. There's a nice introduction to it, which will basically explain what to expect, what not to expect. For example, Steam publishing is currently disabled in beta because we don't want people to publish potentially broken missions or missions which will eventually become incompatible. There's basically it's kind of risky, so some features may be disabled or missing. We'll be adding that over time and keeping you informed.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think that's a good time maybe to rally up the troops and get them to come back into the frame.
Yeah, everybody wants to go try Eden. We shouldn't really delay them.
Is there even someone yet?
I think nobody's watching anymore.
Welcome.
Is there anybody who's still watching? Or
No, I think everyone has just turned off the stream and they're going to go 3D edit. So let's. How would we wrap this up, Mr. Cornel?
That's a good question, actually.
First we'll wait for Lord of the Band to join us
Get in
front of the webcam.
Come on.
Okay, so maybe I have the honor to thank you all for watching this today's live stream. Maybe to recap some of the key points. The Arma 3 Eden 3D editor is free for all users of Arma 3, and it will be made available as part of a free platform update. So that will be an automatic update on Steam in the future. Already, if you want, you can participate in the public beta. Just to do this, you have to sign up for the Arma 3 dev branch. Specifically, how you do this is in your Steam library, you right click on Arma 3, you go to the properties and then the betas tab, and you can switch the build to the dev branch version. One note with this is
It may break your game.
it may break your game, and you will get daily updates, but it is a great way for you to test out the 3D editor and for us then to hopefully get feedback. We prepared the feedback tracker, we have the forums, and Twitter and Facebook are all great places to give your feedback. So have fun. Then to really wrap it up, I would just want to say on behalf of everyone at Bohemia Interactive, and especially I know there are a lot of devs from the Arma 3 team watching, we are really thankful for your support and enthusiasm and joining us for this live stream. Like that's really a major inspiration for everyone here, and like it really gets us excited as well for instance this release. So again,
I could not have put it better.
So again, thank you for watching. Have fun with the beta. Let us know your feedback, and yeah, we hope to share more information about the Eden editor and of course the expansion and whatever else we have in store for Arma 3 in the coming year at a later date. So keep track of our social channels, and yeah, thank you for watching.
I bet you did not see that coming.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Enjoy.
Bye.
For now.
Bye.